We're about to wrap up our conversation and our coverage here this morning, but I just want to come to you, Felix Odhiambo, just to hear your thoughts about this meeting. Finally, is it that simple that these three people will come together and things will happen?
Well, it's not simple. If you look at our history, and not just here, usually the most contentious pieces of legislation to pass are election-related laws. Usually the ruling party interpret any reforms or election amendments as originating from the desire to take power from them. And in other forums, the opposition parties usually approach negotiation on election reforms with getting advantage or gaining advantage insofar as the electoral victory is concerned. But we also need to remember that in this country, every time we have dangerously gone close to the precipice, it has been a bipartisan political solution that has taken us back. The 1997 IPPG negotiations were political settlements. It required the opposition then, and President Daniel Arap Moi Kanu, as it was then, to be able to reach a compromise. The 2010 Constitution was negotiated as a result of a bipartisan political approach that involved multi-stakeholders. And then, of course, the bipartisan committee that was led by Orengo and Kiraitu was a political solution.
Yes.
So every time we've come closer to the precipice, it has been that kind of bipartisan political settlement that has taken us back. It therefore goes without saying that this meeting is timely, it is necessary, and might just be the solution to taking us out of our the hardline positions that are being exhibited by both sides. It would, of course, require President Uhuru Kenyatta to attend and Prime Minister Raila Odinga to attend as well. And like I said earlier, in such a meeting, a process of give and take. Remember the Serena talks, actually.
Yes.
That's another instance where a political solution was able to take us out of a serious situation.
All right.
And if we go that route, I think we need it's welcome if we can. But the bottom line is we have to have a credible elections. And I am not convinced that the amendment before Parliament takes us towards that direction. In fact, it will lead us to a more catastrophic and more shambolic election.
And talking about, these amendments that are on the floor or will be debated soon, let's talk about, from your perspective, I mean, you're an expert in this. You're a lawyer and electoral and governance expert. What is it that you'd want to see? What changes would you want to see? Taking maybe from NASA and taking from Jubilee, what is it that, as an expert, you'd like to see for us to have a credible election? Like I said, the 11-point irreducible minimum by NASA, as I have looked at them and as I interpret them, is more consistent with the Supreme Court ruling, in the sense that they do not actually advocate for an amendment in the election law. There is absolutely no country that has amended its election laws midstream when an election is 23 days away. 22, actually.
22, actually. It doesn't happen like that. Now, if you look at then this amendment, is the change in personnel of IEBC unfair in light of the Supreme Court ruling? I don't think so. And this is, in as much as the Supreme Court did not impute culpability, but to the extent that there was irregularities and illegalities and failure and weaknesses in results transmission, it indicts the CEO, it indicts director or the Directorate of Elections and Operations. This is the directorate that controls all the presiding and returning officers. It indicts the Directorate of ICT. Technology and results transmission failed. And finally, it indicts the Directorate of Legal Department. Illegalities is a legal issue. Secondly, then the question of Al Ghurair. Al Ghurair had a contract with the IEBC to not only print the ballot papers, but to print the declaration forms consistent in a prescribed format. We saw the Supreme Court rule, during the Supreme Court proceedings, forms that did not conform to the prescription contained in the election general regulations.
watermark missing, no signature. I mean, the names of constituency missing and things like that. Is it therefore unfair to demand? Was Al Ghurair in breach of contract? Yes, they were. They ought to have printed. And they have not come out to disclaim and to say that, no, we gave IBC the right forms. We don't know where this came from.
Right.
OT for the same. During the scrutiny by the courts, it emerged that only 2 polling stations transmitted their results. Now the buck stops with the OT-MOFO. These are not legal amendments. These are not legal reforms. So I think we needed to pick a number of them from that.
But
with
are they
regard
practical?
to Jubilee,
But are they practical with the time?
To change, if it was a requirement to replace a commissioner, it would be impractical. The president, as it is, cannot appoint a commissioner.
Yes.
You don't need a change of personnel in the department. The secretariat requires an administrative arrangement. Chebukati tried doing it by appointing a project team and then backtracked.
Yes.
He made a U-turn. Now, that was unfortunate. And then for Jubilee, the only thing I can pick from this amendment is the requirement that the presiding officers and the returning officers should append their signatures to the statutory forms.
That's the only thing.
That is the only thing. But also, it is it is sufficiently addressed in the Election Offences Act as amended in 2016. So it is not a new thing.
Okay.
It is just to seek to emphasize it. That is the only thing I can
So those are the only things that, only thing actually.
Yeah, it's only that one.
All right, interesting. Yes. Thank you very much. Any wrapping thoughts as we wind up?
I think we need to, the IBC should understand that the sovereignty of this country rests on them. It behoves them to give us a credible election. I hope that we can resort to a political solution, have compromise on a number of issues, and I still hope that the bottom line of holding credible, free and fair election in accordance with the ruling of the Supreme Court is absolute.
All right.
That we can't negotiate.
All right. Thank you very much, Felix.
Thank you very much.
Odhiambo, he's an electoral law and governance expert who has been speaking to us on quite a number of issues, including that amendment bill that is now just receiving some public participation. Memoranda from the public is being received as we speak at the County Hall. And that is just one of the top stories we've been focusing on here on News Center.